This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1855, The College Conundrum by J.L. Collins of jlcollinsnh.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. Now let's get to today's post as we optimize your life. The College Conundrum by J.L. Collins of jlcollinsnh.com. Back in the day, I put myself through the University of Illinois, taking down diseased elm trees. I was paid $20 a day, 6 days a week for $120 per week. I saved $100 and kept $20 for pocket money. I sponged off my parents for the summer's room and board. Over 12 weeks, I put aside $1,200. That covered my rent, tuition, fees, books, and food for the entire school year. Although many dinners were white rice and ketchup, but that left a few bucks for beer at the local taverns. 25 cents a glass if you went to the right place at the right time. Then, like now, times were bad, at least for us English majors. It took me 2 years of menial jobs before I landed my first post-graduation professional gig. No problem. I'd mastered in the art of cheap living while earning my degree. I graduated debt-free. Here's my favorite cartoon. The visual is two guys on a cornfield. They're up on racks dressed in shabby clothes. Straw is coming out from their shirt cuffs and pant legs. They're serving as scarecrows. One is looking over at the other saying, "English major, how about you?" This spring, my daughter finished her second year of university. $1,200 about covers the cost of her books. $53,562 so far, and it's only that low because she earned a $12,000 annual academic scholarship. My guess for the grand 4-year total, $160,000 minus $48,000 for the scholarship, $112,000 out of my pocket. And this doesn't include the fees for extracurricular activities and spending money she pays for herself. If she'd gone to NYU, her second choice, it would be $60,000 to $65,000 per year and no scholarship. That's $240,000 to $260,000 total. One of my friends describes it this way, quote, "It's like going out and buying a brand new BMW, driving it for a single year and then throwing it in the trash. Oh, and you do this for 4 consecutive years." End quote. But what's really breathtaking is what happens when we run some numbers. Let's hop over to Dave Ramsey's site and borrow his calculator. We'll plug in a projected return of 8%, very reasonable for VTSAX over time. We'll figure a 40-year working lifespan, and we'll plan to add no more money along the way. $112,000 grows into $2,718,619 by 2052 when our graduate turns 62. $250,000 grows to $6,068,374. I'm a huge believer in education, but still, on a cost-benefit analysis, it's tough to see the value. Of course, this depends on a couple of unlikely situations to actually play out. You have the cash to invest in a lump sum, and your kid actually has the discipline and courage to leave it untouched and invested for decades. Here, in a nutshell, you can see the reason the value of a college education is coming into question in more and more quarters. This before we even consider student debt. Today, in the US, the overall student debt stands at over $1 trillion. Total credit card debt is $693 billion. Total auto loans, $730 billion. Here's the real kicker. Unlike other kinds of debt, as truly awful as they are, you can never walk away from your student loans. They survive bankruptcy. They'll follow you to your grave. Your wages and even Social Security can be garnished to pay them. No wonder banks are falling all over themselves to issue this debt. I'm a firm believer in personal responsibility, but the ethics of encouraging 17 and 18-year-olds who likely have little financial savvy to almost automatically accept this burden gives me serious pause. We're creating a generation of indentured servants. Hard to see the ethics or benefit in that. One of the more unfortunate results of spiraling college costs and debt is the astounding amount of pressure tied to this process. My daughter is surrounded by friends who are stressing out, worried about making the right choice, the choice that will get them that all-important job. Their parents are stressing even more. Rubbish, I say. If college is nothing more than a job training program, there are better things to do with your time and money. Education has value in and of itself, or at least it should. It's a time to expand your mind and your horizon, to explore, not contract your options. You have your whole life ahead to figure out your career, and you'll likely have 5 or 6 different ones before you're done, unless you wind up living a really boring life, which of course most people do. Here are some things for parents to think about. College is a luxury, and like all luxuries, not easily afforded. It's not about you. Is it right for your kid? If you want college for your kid, they're going to need your help, lots of it. Prepare now. College loan debt is a huge cloud under which to begin a life. Not something I want for my kid. You? Is your kid academically inclined? If not, there are better choices. Will a 4-year degree be a career help? Sure, depending on the career, but other things will help too. On a purely ROI basis, 2-year vocational degrees, apprenticeships, and trades likely offer a better return for many kids. And a university degree is only the beginning of one's hopefully lifelong education. Here's what I do as a student doing it on my own. Work, full-time, you're young and tough, you can handle it. Ideally someplace with a college reimbursement program or as an apprentice for a trade. Live dirt cheap. Enroll in your local state university, full-time. You're young and tough, you can handle it. These provide the best education at the most reasonable cost. Evaluate your commitment to a university education after a semester or 2. Figure this is going to take longer than 4 years. Avoid any other financial commitments. Don't be taking out car loans or making babies. And consider the military first. You'll enjoy veterans' benefits the rest of your life, not the least of which is the GI Bill paying for your education. Finally, here's why we're biting the bullet and sending our kid to college. An education is forever. It's the only thing you can buy and never lose. I've met people who through war or natural disaster have lost everything. They were left absolutely penniless, but they still had their degree and the skills and education it represents. She's academically inclined and a great student, as we figured she's getting the most out of it. She's getting paid $12,000 a year with her academic scholarship. She appreciates it. We can afford it. She'll graduate debt-free. And it's simply a lot of fun. I had a grand time in college, and so is my kid now. There's something to be said for that too. You just listened to the post titled The College Conundrum by J.L. Collins of jlcollinsnh.com. I wanted to point out here that this article was written in 2012, and over the last decade, the student debt crisis has surged to $1.7 trillion. Yesterday, I talked about normalizing not going to college or doing it as frugally as possible. So I appreciated JL's thoughts here along that same vein. While the societal norm of going to college certainly puts a lot of pressure on young people and their parents to take on a mountain of debt, the unchecked lending practices are also a huge part of the problem. Think of it this way. No bank would give an 18-year-old hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a house, as it's unlikely they'll be able to pay it back. But they will happily do so for student loans. I read a recent article from Business Insider, which highlighted a report from the Bipartisan Policy Center, a DC-based think tank. The report highlighted some key reasons why the student loan crisis has gotten so bad. State funding to colleges has declined, causing those schools to raise tuition to fill the gaps. Pairing this with easy access to federal loans has led to schools raising tuition without losing prospective students. Even Parent Plus and Grad Plus loans are granted very easily, regardless of a parent's or student's ability to repay these loans. As the report noted, unchecked borrowing is a major contributing factor to the growth of the student debt crisis. I'm hopeful that over time, societal norms around getting a college education will shift and lending practices will evolve. And that will do it for today. Have a great day and start to your weekend. Thank you for listening. And I'll be back here reading to you tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.